I think I might be getting addicted to this game. So the game that everyone is talking about right now is Crimson Desert, and the game should be talked about because it's very much controversial at the minute. People are either loving this game or they are hating this game. But I'm going to be talking about my experience with this game after playing about 8 to 10 hours of this so far. So I'm not playing this on the most extravagant PC. I'm not playing this on ultra settings, this, that, and the other to make it look like the absolute beautiful game that it is. I'm playing this on a base PlayStation 5. So it's not the best experience that you can get out of this game, but you know, I'm still having quite a good time. This is a game that's been on my radar for a while now, and this is a game where I bought it day one and I only got to play it like over the weekend or so. So I initially started off on this game, you know, looking at reviews whilst I had purchased the game but not played it yet, and seeing that people were complaining about this, that, and the other, but you know, I thought, you know what, I'll give my own opinion after I've actually played the game, which I think a lot of people should actually try this game anyway, even if you don't like my opinion. But I initially started this game and I went into this game, and I'll be honest, I don't think I liked it at first. When I first started playing it, it felt clunky, it felt dark, and it just felt like unresponsive. And that's because with the base PlayStation 5, I automatically went into the mode which was balanced mode, which is basically a 40 FPS kind of upscaled game. That's all it is. So you had three options to choose from: quality, balanced, and performance. And as soon as I switched this to performance mode, you know what, I felt like everything was a bit more responsive. But I'm being serious when I say this now. I went through the amount of settings on this game for about a good hour, but I was just staring at my screen thinking, what the heck am I looking at? This is not this game that I've been looking at like on every other person's preview. Like, it just looked really kind of grainy. Even when I put it onto like quality mode, which was like the 30 FPS, best graphics you can get on your PlayStation. It's not the PlayStation 5 Pro, I know that, but I was expecting a bit more, and I was switching between quality, performance, and balanced, and I just kind of looked at it like, there's something wrong here. So eventually I did manage to get some sort of settings where it made the game feel a bit more better. I think I had to like switch 120 hertz or something off on my PlayStation, and then went through a bit of brightness and this, that, and the other. And even on performance mode now, after the update, it looks pretty good. I'll admit it looks pretty good. And as soon as I got it more playable, I thought to myself, I'm actually kind of enjoying this game now. It felt a bit more responsive, and it looked a whole lot better than it did originally. But you shouldn't really have to go into a load of settings to actually change it for, you know, to actually get it to perform how you want it to perform. I'm not playing a PC, I'm playing a PlayStation, and you pick up a PlayStation to basically just put a disc in or install a game and just play it straight away. You do. If you want that sort of like fidelity and stuff like that, you play a PC game. Well, that's just one element of me just playing it on PlayStation 5. That's my own fault. If I want to go and play this on the best settings, go and get it on PC. I always say I can't run PC games because my PC's dog ass. If anyone wants to send me a PC, by all means. But that's not stopped me from having fun on this game. I'll be honest, like, the more I'm starting to play this game, the more I'm having fun. There was a bit, like, in the first 2 hours or so of playing this game, I was just thinking, I don't know if this is going to be for me. But I stuck at it. And I'm glad I have. So, the story on this game isn't so far. I'm saying so far because I've heard people say it like picks up in like so many other hours. Bear in mind, I'm 8 to 10 hours into this. But the story so far isn't the worst, but it's definitely not like a straightforward storyline. There's just bits going on it where you're like, okay, we're just picking up from this bit. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's very not a story-driven game, but you know, the bits I have had with story, I can see it's getting a little bit better now, like it generally is. But maybe this might not be the game for you if you want like a Witcher 3 experience. Bear in mind, by the way, Elden Ring isn't the most complex story, and that game's beloved. Not comparing these games, but there is elements that are actually kind of like it. In all honesty, this feels like a single-player MMO. Like, it really does. And I'm an MMO fan, like, I've probably spent the most amount of games in my life playing MMOs. I don't really play them anymore. I've had thousands of hours in World of Warcraft. I've had hundreds of hours in Final Fantasy Online. Done like 2 or 3 expansions in that actual game, and this game actually reminds me of that quite a lot. And I've actually played Black Desert, which are the same creators as Crimson Desert. You can tell that they built off that game and made this. But like I said, this kind of reminds me, if you played it, for example, Final Fantasy Online or Final Fantasy 14 or whatever you want to call it, because you can play that game single player without actually interacting with anyone in multiplayer. Like you can go through a single player story on that game and you're in like a multiplayer world. Bear in mind that this is not a multiplayer world, but the aspect of like what you do on that game is kind of similar to this. Like, it's not a massively open story, but the story is pretty good on Final Fantasy Online, but not to like the degree of like a cinematic story like The Witcher. And there's loads of elements in this game that feel like an MMO. Like your side quests, go and fetch me a sheep, go and mine some ore for me, chop some wood for me, go and do these wanted posters. There's a lot of like quests on this that are kind of like, you can tell they're like grindy little quests, but then there's some that I've come across which are pretty good. Bear in mind, I've probably not even scratched the surface of any good quests on this yet, but I have enjoyed what I've been playing because I was an MMO fan, and I kind of like just going around exploring the world and seeing what's there. It feels a bit like Red Dead in a sense, where you're going around Red Dead and you'll see like an NPC doing something in Red Dead Redemption 2, and then you go and do like your little side story of your own, because the amount of NPCs in this game is really good, and you can interact with near enough all of them. You know, you can greet them, or, you know, trade with them, or whatever you want to. There is a lot of like interaction with NPCs, and it does make this world feel very much alive, which I really do like. So I'm going to talk about some of the combat now, and if that actually feels like MMO-ish. I've heard people who play on the PC, it kind of feels like you play it like an MMO, like you have key bindings and stuff like that. But I've been playing this on the PlayStation with a controller, and I've not really been doing much with the combat. Like, there's not been loads of different combos that I've been doing to actually make it complicated yet. I say yet because the skill tree on this is massive, and gameplay, what I've seen of like trailers and stuff of what this game came out with, the trailers that came out for this game very much looks like a different game from what I'm playing at the moment. Like, the amount of stuff you can do in those trailers compared to what I'm doing now is like night and day. It looks like a different game. It does. And I feel like that's why I'm kind of enjoying it more, because you're like weirdly progressing through this game, and it's like you're building yourself up. Kind of feels like solo leveling, I'm going to be honest. But the combat itself, like I said, when I first started playing this game, was clunky and I wasn't really into it. It felt unresponsive. I had to change all my settings, and now I'm being honest, I kind of like it. The only weapons I've used on this game are a two-handed sword, a one-handed sword, and a shield, and then like a magic ability you get to like push people back, and like an ability to kick people, which those three abilities in their own, like your hack and slash, being able to run up to someone and like double kick them in the face, and then like kick them under their legs to sweep them under, and then stabbing and doing little combos like that. I've actually really enjoyed it. It doesn't feel too hard, the combat on this. I would say it's better than a lot of other games that have like had this sort of combat. Like, people actually complained about the Witcher 3 combat. I liked it personally, but I know a lot of people actually did complain about that. And would I say this is more fluid than that? I would say it's probably more fast-paced. They do kind of play the same, but it kind of like has elements in different ways of like different games into one. This game is literally like a load of games into one, but we'll get into that further down the video. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens when I actually do progress through this story and, you know, get more combat abilities, and seeing if I can actually handle it on a controller, because the amount of abilities you can have on a PC is not too bad because you have a keyboard. I just have a PlayStation controller and a few buttons on it, and you can't really do much on it. I found it weird when I went and played Final Fantasy, for example, Final Fantasy Online, on the PlayStation compared to the PC. It played much better on the PC because you could use a mouse and keyboard, and it was just more accessible rather than on a controller where you have to like kind of keybind to like different buttons, and don't feel like there's enough of them. So I reckon it might go down that line later on, but at the moment I'm not really struggling with the combat apart from some of the boss battles, which is good. I don't want to just absolutely blitz through this game like owning everything, because there was certain points in this where I'm going up against, I would say, about 30 enemies, and I'm just literally like sweeping through them. I don't know if there's actually a difficulty level on this. I haven't even looked. And then I went to a boss, and then I was, you know, a bit more strategic. You know, I had to roll this, that, and the other, counter him, kick him away, and that was pretty enjoyable. You know, he has a health bar, and it takes longer to get him down than it would a regular NPC. And then I eventually went on to one where I thought, this guy looks menacing. It was like some big ass mech guy, and I couldn't defeat him. Like, he was near enough two-shotting me. Holy shit. And I thought, you know what? I kind of like this. I'm going to come back to this later on. Still not done that because I kept on dying over and over. And then you eventually go down the storyline and you come across another boss, and, you know, he's a bit tougher than the last boss you faced, but he's very much more manageable than that one I've just tried to do, like, over the horizon. So, like I said earlier, This is a game which feels like a lot of games into one. A lot of people have said this and I think the same. The elements you have like from Breath of the Wild, the cooking reminds me of how you cook in Breath of the Wild. The stamina system on this certainly reminds me of Breath of the Wild. When you're climbing up a cliff, for example, I fell down because I didn't have enough stamina and I couldn't really go back up it unless I ate some like magic mushrooms in this case. The combat feels kind of like The Witcher with like a sprinkle of like Elden Ring and someone else in there. The combat's actually quite good. I don't know why people are slating that. The way you explore the world somehow feels like Red Dead Redemption 2 to me. I don't know why. I feel like maybe it's the way you can interact with near enough any NPC in this game, and I just feel like every nook and cranny has at least something to look at. And obviously it's beautiful like Red Dead Redemption 2. The climbing system and how you can go on like rooftops and stuff like that reminds me of Assassin's Creed, and the way I can go about missions kind of reminds me of Assassin's Creed as well. I've just done a mission where I either needed to sneak into a building with a disguise, or I had to basically sneak in on rooftops and get into this building without any guards seeing me. And because I'm a seasoned Assassin's Creed player, I decided to do it the sneaky way, go on top of the buildings and like climb through the roof. There's so many different games where they've just had a love child and they've made this game. And it's not a master of any of them, but it's certainly not the worst. Like, it works. So what to take from this is, I would say this game doesn't pick up until about 6 hours or so in. If you're after a game where you just want to get straight into like the action and, you know, better bits of the game, I'm not even in the better bits of the game, but it's certainly better than the first couple of hours was, then I would either get this game and sticker it, get it on sale, because unfortunately these days when you buy a game you have to like refund it within the first 2 hours, otherwise you can't get a refund. Don't know why they do that with these type of games. I can understand it maybe on the likes of like Resident Evil where it's like a 12-hour game, but a game that's like hundreds of hours, you should at least give it like 8 to 10 hours and then maybe be able to refund it. You're not going to complete the game in that time, so I don't see why not. Do I think this game's worth it? Yes, I would probably rate this like an 8 out of 10 at the moment. I'm very much enjoying this, but like I've said, I enjoy MMOs and all the past games, which I think it's melded into one. I enjoy those sort of games as well. You're not going to get a complex story from this. You're not. Unless it does down the line, then I'll let you know. But this, like I said, this is just my impressions after 8 to 10 hours of this game. And I do want to make a second video on this because I know this game's getting differenter and differenter the more I'm playing it. I feel like I'm starting to play more of a different game the further I'm going into this. So I'll make another video, maybe like, I don't know, 20 to 30 hours down the line if stuff has changed that much where I feel like I need to make a video on this. I will be making the video on this again regardless, but this was just my first impressions on this. And like I said, it's up to you if you want to buy this, but if you like all those sort of games and you like MMOs, then I would suggest this. But if you're new here, please do consider subscribing. I'm trying to get 3,000 subscribers one day because I feel like that's taken an absolute eternity to get to. I do bring videos out on other games as well. I've just done Resident Evil 2 for the first time. Took me a long time to get into the horror genre, but you know, I just brought a video out on that. I played God of War recently as well. So there will be more videos like that in the future.